the A5A or the AME church.
Just
But
saying,
anyway.
ooh, it's cold out there. Ooh, even got my alpha mask this time. There you
Oh,
go.
wow.
Yeah, throw my 8 mask on there. This is the Power Hour brought to you each and every Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. here on WURD Radio, 900 AM, 96.1 FM, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, on the app, wordradio.com, on a tin can and a string. Heard on Mars with the new Mars rover. Word is on Mars this morning, people. Did you know that?
No, did not know that.
Well, go up there and dispute me. Go up there and prove that we're not on Word, and I will retract my statement. Until then, I'm like Donald Trump. Like, can you prove it's not? Well, of course I
That's
can.
right. There you go.
Then we're on Word. Word is on Mars now. That's our new sign. So anyway, taking you to Mars and back this morning, sitting across from me is Bishop Dwayne David Reista.
And sitting across from me is the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
And holding it down, the glue, so to speak, is none other than Kawesa.
Kawesa.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
She gives a meh.
I hear you. How was your ride in?
Not bad. The roads are clear. I know we're going to see some precipitation a little bit later, so just, everybody stay safe. But as of right now, roads are clear, not really much traffic. So, yeah, not too bad.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well, I tell you, be careful out there, folks. It's supposed to get ugly one more time, it looks like, before the warm weather gets here. It's supposed to be like in the 50s on Wednesday.
Wow.
That sounds like motorcycle riding weather to me.
Uh-huh. I hear you on that.
Got to get out there for at least an afternoon. Take some Zoom calls on the bike with my stomach.
You are good at that.
Yeah. Many of you don't know. If you've been in Zoom meetings with me before, chances are you were taking a motorcycle ride.
I have had that experience before, so totally get it.
There you go. So, folks, a lot to cover today. We're going to talk about COVID-19 and an incredible local response to it by the Black Doctors Consortium, where in 24 hours they were able to vaccinate 4,000 people.
Wow.
Everybody who got in line got a vaccination, from what I understand. And but there's still a lot of stuff. We also passed that crazy milestone, man. It's unbelievable. 500,000 people dead from COVID-19. Also, we'll talk a little bit about what's going on the national scene. Joe Manchin is being Joe Manchin again. I don't know what he is. He's not really a Democrat, not really Republican. He occupies this weird space. But he's talking
Trying
about
to get reelected.
Yeah, so he's talking about not voting to confirm NERDA. I mean, as though somehow he thinks that's worse than the fact that didn't he vote to impeach Trump?
No, he didn't. He voted, he voted to convict him. He did vote to convict him. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, dude, come on, man. I mean, seriously, you're not gonna confirm her because some nasty tweets she said about the Republicans who voted. I mean, I hate the whataboutism. I agree that that's pretty terrible, but I'm just saying, if they could get past you convicting Trump, there's pretty much nothing you could do that, if that's what you're concerned about, a re-election. So, but we have to come back and talk about that. And also this crazy reparation story out there about Herschel Walker, who says God doesn't want us to have reparations, is not biblical.
Herschel.
It's called concussion protocol.
Yes, absolutely.
With a little bit of white supremacy mixed in your
theology.
Theology.
Absolutely.
And mixed in with a little bit too much money to stay in touch with the people. Put all together, and you get Herschel Walker. But nonetheless, so we want to come back to hit all of those three. But but we also have to talk this morning, before we even get started, about our man, our guy, who transitioned As we say in the church, from labor to reward on Saturday. Cody Anderson passed away on Saturday, the family announced, and you'll be hearing about that all day on WURD because he was such an instrumental part of the WURD family for the last 20 years, hard to believe. And before that, had become legendary at WDAS. And but yeah, Cody was he was the guy. He was, as far as Philadelphia radio is concerned, when you're connected to those two institutions for a lifetime, that puts you in the heart and the center of Black life in Philadelphia. And so many things that have happened over those last 40 plus years have been covered through Black radio, and he had a hand in it. What are your thoughts this morning about Cody?
You know, it's just so hard to hear. When I first started doing one of your previous shows on this station, and I would come in on Friday nights because he was always on Laborers Live right before us. You know, he would sit down, he would say, "Hey, Rev, how you doing? What you got going on today?" And I'm scrambling, trying to get it all together, you know, trying to figure it out. I was still so new at it at the time. And, you know, I told the story before, but I never forget one time I came in, I'm scrambling. Every guest I tried to book, I couldn't book. And he said to me, "Look, I want you to make this call this person, tell them told them to call you and get this particular politician on the show." And this is literally like 20 minutes before the show's getting ready to start. So I called. I said, "Cody Anderson told me I should call you to get this particular politician on the show. You know, this is what I want to talk about." 5 minutes later, I get a phone call back. "Oh, yeah, we're going to do this. Here we go. The politician will be on at this time. We'll do this, we'll do that." And I'm sitting there like, wow. I mean, it was like nothing to him. It was like, you know, it was just breathing, and, you know, he knew everybody. Everybody knew who he was. He was connected in a deep way within this city, part of the city's infrastructure, to say in many ways. You know, it's actually kind of interesting because I think a lot of times we often think of political power as being the pinnacle of power. But really, he demonstrated a way in which media was a powerful force to be reckoned with here in the city of Philadelphia, especially Black media. You know, not just on WURD, but on other stations that he was on and other programming that he did throughout the years. You know, Cody was a force. You did not say no to Cody Anderson, right? Because you would wind up paying for that. So, and I think that was really very powerful. And he was one of those voices that was definitely about Black Philadelphia. And so we'll really miss him and miss his mentoring. He was mentoring me without exactly telling me, like, "You fool, you don't know what you're doing." So, and I mean, we talked politics. You know, we wrestled over some policy issues where we saw things differently, and but it was good. And I always appreciated the conversation, the information, the insight. And really the love that he was sharing to me for trying to work in this medium that he'd worked in, you know, almost 5 decades. So just really, really, it's a sad moment for our city. And, you know, praying that for those that he mentored and really poured into, that, you know, we will all rise to the occasion and do likewise.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it before back in December. I'm glad actually that WURD took the time to honor him. And so maybe somebody knew something that we didn't know, but I'm really happy that he was being honored, that he was honored, I should say. But yeah, so like you said on my old show, Urban Insight, that would come on Friday nights, the laborers were on an hour before. And so Cody was like always, you know, so he produced that show and would really help them kind of like, you know, feel their way through radio. Right. So you know, me, I'm like just, you know, I was always like over preparing for the show. So I'd get there maybe 2:30 or 3 for a 5 o'clock show. So Cody see me there in the little conference room, getting my notes together, my rundown. "Hey, what's up, Red? So you here kind of early, huh?" You know. I was like, yeah, unlike you, Cody, some of us have to actually like, really work hard at this. You know what I mean? It's not old hat to me. And but just always encouraging, always had a word that was positive to say about the show that you had done or whatever. it kind of slid tips in. You know, some people can be pretty offensive in how they share, you know, what you ought to be doing. But Cody was much more laid back. I mean, in fact, I didn't even know he was such an icon until later.
Hmm.
I mean, it's like, I mean, literally, he was like, he had that air of humility about him. And so he didn't wear it in that kind of way, like Negro, you know who I am? I'm Cody Ant. No, it wasn't that. It was much more laid back. You would never know until somebody kind of had to come and put him in his right context for you. And that
Yeah.
also, I think, really goes a long way about kind of helping us understand who he was. You'll hear a lot about him today on WURD if you're tuning in. I'm sure on other stations as well, as people are really, again, just celebrating his life as they should. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm not sure about Facebook. We're trying to get that up for you all this morning. If you're tuning in now on the app or on word.com, once it's up, we will let you know. But as I promised, a few other things we do want to talk about on today. And, bruh,
Yes, sir.
you know,
Can we just say we're praying for Cody's family, and you know, they're in our hearts and minds right now.
well, yeah, Bill, I don't know the rest of them, but, you know,
Hmm.
Bill over at his son, Bill Anderson, who I didn't even know was Cody's son, who's at Fox 29. You know, Leslie used to work at 29.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, and so I think they kind of like think there was a little overlap as she was leaving there like some years ago, and Bill, maybe he was already there, but he wasn't as involved as he is now.
Hmm.
So I know that it's hitting that family as well. We know a lot of
Yeah.
folk who work at Channel 29, and you know, speaking of his family, I read his son, I read his son's letter, the statement from the family. Bill wrote
Hmm.
it. So I think he had a sister and a brother. So
Yeah.
I think it's
His
three of them.
wife Verna, his daughter Teresa, and his sons Bill and Kyle.
Yeah. So Bill's making the point that the three siblings, that there wasn't a day where they did not talk to their dad.
Mm.
I mean, like literally. He's like, you know,
Wow.
I'm not. He said, I mean, I don't even. He said, I don't even know what life without him looks like because we were that close. And I was started thinking, I was like, you know, these are the stories of Black fatherhood in particular that you
Hmm.
don't hear about, you
Hmm.
know. And so it's not all bad. You know, a number of folk, you know, have horror stories about Black fatherhood. Um, and yet to have this story of a person who was so intimately involved in his career and yet was also intimately involved in the lives of his children. Now you talk about like having some balance. That's, I mean, that really is the ultimate goal, right? To be at the top of your career and at
That's
the
right.
same time not neglect your family as a result. And
That's
so
right.
I thought Bill gave him the ultimate compliment, which was the fact that he went into the business of media. Like I said, he works at Fox 29 now.
Hmm.
He said the reason he went into media is because he just needed an excuse to be close to his dad.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, you close to your dad, so you know, I'm sure it resonates with you.
Yeah, well, I didn't have the skills. He was a computer guy. That was not my forte.
Oh, that's where Damon gets it.
That's where Damon, it's my brothers like that. My brother and my father, they could sit for hours and sit and talk about computers. And my brother went into computers, I think, a large part because my dad did it. They're extremely close.
Yeah,
So, yeah, absolutely.
so you're right. So definitely praying for the family, and you know, praying for the family. I see we're coming up on a break, so we'll pick up COVID in Philly on the other side. But yes, also, you know, in my world, in the AME church world, a very young preacher, grew up in West Philly, Reverend Frank Smart, uh, uh, gave way to a very long fight with cancer, very public fight. So I'm not putting this stuff out there. In fact, a
Yeah.
lot of us had a kind of followed him on social media as he
Hmm.
you know, was very public about his battle. There were T-shirts designed. Frank's fight is our fight.
Hmm.
Just a terrific young guy. But I mean, in the same way that Cody's passing hits the radio community in a really hard way, so does Frank's. With especially there was a young group of preachers that a lot of us have a lot of hope in. He was a part of that. I don't even think Frank. I think Frank was still in his 30s. Not long married. Was pastoring over in Trenton, New Jersey, at Greater Mount Zion AME Church, And so our thoughts and prayers are with him and his fraternity brothers. He was an Omega. And, but yeah, you just hate to see that, man, with somebody just so young, so full of life, doesn't get a chance to really even get started. So, yeah, just kind of a tough morning for a lot of folks. So, definitely praying for his mom and his sister and and his wife, especially, and their families.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, so when we come back on the other side of the break, we're going to talk about COVID-19 and the incredible work of Dr. Ayla Stanford, who, when you get to Black History Month in the future, she's one of the persons that people will be talking about.
Absolutely.
Because, yeah, she is just, oh my God, man. I mean, in a year of darkness, she is a bright, bright, bright shining light. And I know that she would tell us, hey, it's not just me, it's the Black Doctors Consortium. But Dr. Ayla, with all due respect, all of them would say that if not for you,
that's right.
They may have vaccinated 1,000 over the weekend, but they did 4,000. And a lot of that is because of her own use of her growing celebrity and how she has used it for the good. So let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. This is the Power Hour. We got to get the graphic or whatever, the sound. Can't keep doing that. It's the Power Hour. We'll be right back.
America's kids are returning to class, in school and at home. And this year, learning is especially tough on students who already struggle with poverty, emotional trauma, and other barriers.
That's where our organization, Communities in Schools, can help. For years, we've had caring adults inside schools, helping these students stay in school.
And now, we are taking our work beyond the school walls, tutoring, mentoring, and counseling students, providing resources for at-home learning,
Delivering meals, providing household supplies, connecting kids with online classrooms, and using technology to maintain the one-on-one relationships we know can transform the lives of students and their families.
We are doing whatever it takes to make sure all kids have the opportunity to learn and succeed.
Communities in Schools, going wherever we are needed to help those students who are most in need thrive.
To see how you can help kids succeed, visit communitiesinschools.org. That's communitiesinschools.org.
I went to check on Pop today. We put our hands up to the glass as if we were touching. But really, the only touching part was that we both tried to smile.
That's no way to say hello or goodbye. COVID-19 vaccines are here, but until enough of us are vaccinated, we'll all still need to help slow the spread. Keep a 6-foot distance, wear a mask, and avoid indoor social gatherings. Learn more about vaccines and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
WURD Radio is proud to broadcast Monday, February 22nd at noon, the 6th annual Jefferson Salutes Martin Luther King Jr.'s Vision, featuring Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, who will be discussing his most recent book, Tears We Cannot Stop. Tune in February 22nd at noon for this amazing discussion, brought to you by Thomas Jefferson University and Jefferson Health.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
Welcome to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We're here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and of course, our opinions. And we have plenty of them. And so we will do that. We've been talking this morning about the late Cody Anderson and the great icon that he was here in the city of Philadelphia, also the passing of the Reverend Frank Smart, and the whole of the AME family that is feeling that loss in Philadelphia, the son of Philadelphia. And now we need to check in with some other things that are happening around the city.
Yeah, so, listen, it's interesting. We've talked a lot about news coverage, and in particular how predominantly white-owned and operated news agencies often, fail on how they report about our stuff. And here's a good example. So we're talking about Ayla Stanford, and her incredible work of vaccinating 4,000 people in a 24-hour, they created a word, a vaccination-thon. And so they rented out the Temple Leocore Center. I understand there was even an issue there at one point where the men's basketball team wanted to practice and I guess shut stuff down for a few hours or something, which was crazy. I don't have all the facts on that, but I know I saw that in passing. And but for some reason, they were not given room inside the building to let what they knew would be thousands of people, gather to wait. Now, obviously, if you ask the doctors what their choice would have been, it would have been to let people inside the building and not sit out in the freezing cold.
Right.
But so here's a story from the Inquirer, right? Now, we've been on the Inquirer about the way that they report stuff out. So here is a story that is all good. It's all good. Tell me the last time you heard a major city vaccinating 4,000 people in 24 hours. I mean, most of these things, the media shows up for a place where they got like 30 doses and gives it plenty of press. But 4,000 people were vaccinated in Philadelphia this weekend at one site. And so the news story itself, now here's the thing, on Facebook, they'll do the little ad, right? And so the little ad is to get your attention. Here's the ad. So it's a picture of a woman sitting out there, and it says, here's the tease. A 50-year-old woman with diabetes and heart disease arrived at 9 a.m. and hadn't made it into the building at 4 p.m. She said she hadn't eaten and struggled to find somewhere to use the bathroom. So it's all right, we're going to go and basically dump all over this great story. Now you hit the story link, it opens up. The story is all positive. Massive turnout at Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium. This is the actual headline. With thousands being vaccinated, 24-hour clinic. It's largely positive. But again, it's somebody. So the Inquirer has all these persons who do different things. So somebody in their social media or their web content or in their digital space thought that was a good idea to basically dump on top of this wonderful thing and get you to read it, because obviously you won't read it unless it's something controversial. This is what I'm saying, how out of touch they are with the Black experience in Philadelphia. And as we said 2 weeks ago, when we looked at that chart of who works at the Inquirer, when you don't have Black folk in those spaces helping you make better decisions, you come out with stuff like this, and the entire thing is just, they're being taken down on social media as a result of them, putting that up as a Facebook ad. That's ridiculous.
And did they mention that the city had canceled their vaccinations because of the weather, but Dr. Stanford went ahead with the ones that she was doing anyway? Did they mention the fact that she was starting to run out of vaccine and she wanted to make sure everybody got vaccinated, and so she called the city and got the city to deliver another 2,000 doses in the middle of the night? Did they mention that? Did they mention the fact that she was vaccinating Black and white and Latinx and Asian Pacific Islander and indigenous folk? Did they happen to mention that? Did they happen to mention that she has done the most vaccines in the city in one day, more than anybody else has done in any of the regional counties as well? Did they mention the fact that nobody else has thought about doing a 24-hour-a-day vaxathon for the most vulnerable zip codes in the city of Philadelphia? Did they happen to mention that?
They said this lady couldn't use the bathroom, hadn't eaten, and struggled mightily in her, I guess, 8 or 9 hours in line.
So let's put it this way: the lines were long, and that also speaks to a level of desperation that people are to get vaccinated. Right? People want to get this vaccine. I know people say Black folk don't want to get the vaccine. There were a whole lot of Black folk in that line that day waiting to get the vaccine. Actually, on Friday night on Solutions, Madi was in line. Madi was in line, and she called into the show and was explaining what happened. But they also happened to mention that Kendra Brooks came out there with water and food. Council member Helen Gim came out with water and food. People were helping each other out by holding places in line so people could swap out and go find a place to sit down and get warm for a little bit. And yeah, there was a bathroom challenge out there. But, that also speaks to, rather than blaming her for that, why aren't they saying, how come if she can do this and the city has all the resources that it does, how come nobody's saying, why isn't the city doing this? Why is it that they're looking at the Black woman and complaining when she's actually trying to do something to help save people's lives, and our city still can't get its stuff together? Please explain that to me. why, why we're making this? Yes. Was there a long line? Absolutely. You know why there was a long line? Because the city is a freaking mess when it comes to the Department of Health and cannot get itself together so that there could be multiple sites happening simultaneously around the city where people are able to get their vaccines.
But the Inquirer chose to find the most negative story they could out of a day of full black joy. See, this is what I'm saying. I mean, look, and so the Inquirer is the big dog in Philadelphia for print. So of course we're going to talk about the Inquirer, but they are no different than most papers of record in the United States of America, regardless of the city you live in. And again, when you don't have full representation of your community, when your editorial boards, when your web content board departments, when your social media departments, when your advertising departments, when they don't reflect, very well the community you serve, you're going to get stuff like this. Yep. Because anybody black would have said, look, do y'all want more heat? We've been taking heat and incoming all year long from Buildings Matter 2 up to the present. Is that really a good look? I mean, we probably should lead with something like a woman is jumping with joy coming out of here because she was told no from every other place in the city, but now has her first shot and she feels better. I mean, seriously, it's just, I don't know, man. It is very, very frustrating. And it just makes you want to bang it against the wall. Hey, thanks for putting up the YouTube link. And so, yeah, we are. So YouTube is working great. I don't know what's up with Facebook, but glad to see you all. And looks, I can't, everybody has like different names on YouTube, but Nike Tim likes it when you get riled up, Royce.
Yes. Yes.
So go ahead and get riled up some more.
I do get riled up periodically, and it does happen when people really tick me off.
Yeah. So I mean, look, again, it's not up to, let us remember something, okay? It'd be one thing if Ayla Stanford and the Black Doctors Consortium was the government and this was their job to do, but this ain't their job to do.
Right.
This is like what they are doing because the government is failing miserably. And so as a result, they have picked up the ball. And so if the government wants to help, hey, government, roll out some portable heaters. Go down to the lake and get the stuff that keeps the Eagles warm when it's a cold game. I'm sure that they have some of that stuff at Temple. And let's warm people up and let's provide for them the basic services and what have you. But again, let's not dump on the Black doctors as though somehow it's their fault. Now, I told you there's something else I wanted to get to as well. Oh, well, before we move from this.
Wait. So Nicky Otimda says, here's the deal. Folks don't get fed up when in line for concert tickets. People pull out their tents and do all kinds of stuff to go get their concert tickets.
Or the next PlayStation.
Yes. Or Apple phone.
Right. So have you ever seen them do that story where it's like, so people have been waiting, to your point, for 8 to 10 hours in line in the cold, and then they're like, this poor person has been sitting here. They've got diabetes. They got high blood pressure. They haven't eaten. They haven't found a bathroom. No. All you want to do is geek out about the fact that this new technology is coming out. You're exactly right. It's hypocritical. And again, It is the ways in which we are often viewed through the lens of other folk. And again, it's a shame. And mind you, for the people who keep saying that COVID is just that it's not really a thing, it's the COVID hoax, those folk are still out there. And I just want to give you a friendly reminder. If you don't believe that something is happening, then just look at raw numbers, okay? So typically about 2.8 million people a year die in America. And last year, waiting on the final numbers, but it was like 3.2 million.
Wow, you can tell the difference.
It's like 400,000 more. You don't have to rent, when you see hospitals in places like New York and in Philly, and you see funeral directors renting coolers to put bodies in, that kind of tells you that there are a few more funerals happening. When you hear clergy like ourselves who are burned out from like getting notices and receiving messages from people that another family member has died, another friend has died, and that you cannot remember in a time in ministry in one calendar year that you have had to announce or attend or preside over as many funerals as you have. It tells you that something is happening. Now, I know some of y'all just don't want to attribute it to COVID because it became a political thing. And for some reason, it's like it's a Democratic ploy to get Donald Trump out of office. Donald Trump is out of office and people are still dying from COVID-19. So please take this serious because here we are. We have just passed the 500,000 person mark of those who have died. And the truth is we all believe the number to be higher. You know, I know someone who died last year about the same time. It was right after the first death was announced in America, but she passed in Maryland. She was in the hospital, had gotten well, and then all of a sudden, a day or two later, started getting fevers, and unexplained reason passed away. Family never understood what happened, and I guarantee you, looking back on it, that had to have been COVID-19.
Yeah.
And so, but there are a lot of stories like that. So you have to believe that number is probably closer to 550 or 600,000 in reality. But nonetheless, 500,000 people confirmed to have died from COVID in a 12-month period of time. Here's the context and why this is such a devastating number. Do you realize that if you combine the combat deaths of the Civil War and World War II, the two, their other wars don't even come close to the numbers of dead. Both of those wars, more than 200,000 people were killed in combat, mostly men. And that number comes out to about 506,000. It took 8 years with those two wars, 1861 to 65, 1941 to 1945, a total of 8 years for just over 500,000 troops to be murdered and killed, I should say, in battle. And in a 12-month period of time, that many people have died from COVID-19 in this year, and folk are walking around still acting like, you know, that this is a joke and blow off Fauci when he says we'll be having masks on until next year. Brother Fauci, let me tell you, for me in my house, if I live to the 2060s, I'll be 100 or close. And I guarantee you, if you see me as an old man, I'm gonna still have a mask on.
Look, there's no lie in that. You know, as a matter of fact, years ago, I used to, you know, you would sometimes see some of our Asian siblings still walking around with masks on because they had gone through SARS, they had gone through other stuff. They get on an airplane, they have masks on, things of that nature, and you're like, why do they have these masks on? This is ridiculous. Now I'm gonna be one of them. I will be going, especially when I'm in close quarters, double mask. I'm double masking now. I went out and bought these KN95 masks that I got some nice black ones, and I put a cloth mask on top of that. And in the cloth mask, I have a filter in it too. I'm like, I'm not playing with you people. They said that the South African variant and the European variant are much easier to catch. I'm like, As a matter of fact, I do as minimal as possible out in public right now that I can possibly get away with. But if I go out, I mean, if I had to run some doctor's appointments to take my brother to go to chemo, I actually wear double mask when I go out. I'm not playing. I'm not trying to get sick. I am washing my hands constantly. I have hand sanitizer in my pocket at all times. So, you know, even when I'm just standing around, haven't touched anything, guess who's popping out the hand sanitizer? That's me. I'm like, it's just walking around in the air.
I got it on the motorcycle. I got it in the car. I got masks hidden everywhere. Every time I look around, I'm like, what's this in my pocket? Oh, another mask. Because I'm like, look, I am not playing with this. And so,
right.
You know, you all keep going ahead and playing with your health if you want to with this. It's just, you know, it's the COVID hoax, you know, the great COVID hoax of 2020. I mean, first of all, it's the most insensitive thing ever.
Yeah.
Because, again, I mean, I was looking at the numbers. It was maybe like 6,000 American troops died during the Afghanistan and Iraq war. And you remember every time it came across the news media, just how devastating that sounded. Remember? Right. And just how just like the whole country paused. There's like 3 soldiers killed today in Afghanistan, and just how it just shook everybody. And yet we still have over 2,000 people a day dying in America from COVID, and people just shrug it off like it ain't no thing.
And not only, I mean, so not only are there 500,000 dying, but there are also probably millions of folk who will have long-lasting effects
Oh
from
yeah,
COVID,
yeah,
right? It's not even, I mean, I just heard a story this weekend, somebody that had COVID, recovered, then caught pneumonia and died, right? So there's the back
yeah.
end of how this continues to impact people's lungs and their health and the long-term impact on all these things. I've talked to people who have had COVID. They don't sound the same anymore, right? There's for some reason, it's not the same for everybody. Some people get it, mild conditions, no problem. But for
Mhm.
some people, they have long-lasting health impacts. And, that's serious. It's very serious.
Yeah. So listen, we got to take a break, but and I see folk on YouTube Live this morning shouting out their condolences to Cody Anderson and his family. If you missed the opening of our show, we dedicate the whole top segment to Cody Anderson. You can always go back and hear the replay, but absolutely praying for him, for his wife, for his children, and for the radio community. I mean, he was a mentor to a lot of people. So you got to believe a lot of folk are hurt. We met him in his later years, and he certainly had an impact on us. But there are people who have walked through radio with him for 40 plus years now, and who you could just really just tell. I mean, they're really shook right now. So good morning to all of you on social. Glad to see Kenrick and Marvin. Glad to see Renee and Mabel. Glad you all found us over here. Sheila, Gary, Kim, and Will Mega. Glad to see you as well. Thank you all for being here with us, and hit the share button. Well, I don't know. Yeah, there's something to share. It's not as easy and intuitive, but share this out with your friends and families. When we come back on the other side of the break, hate to get this started, but we got to talk reparations, because Herschel Walker is back in the news again saying black folk don't need reparations because my God said so.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, that guy.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus didn't have a problem when my man ran up to him and said, if I've defrauded anybody, I'll pay them back in 4 times, whatever I owe. That sounds like reparations, but hey, whatever. We got to take a break. It's the Power Hour. We'll be right back.
Toyota proudly presents In Their Own Words.
There was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Who would have thought that little girl would grow up to make history as U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, the first female U.S. Vice President, the first African-American U.S. Vice President, a proud graduate of Howard University, the first graduate of a historically black college or university to be VP. That's why she inspires and encourages our youth to dream big.
And to the children of our country, regardless of your gender, our country has sent you a clear message. Dream with ambition. Lead with conviction. See yourselves in a way that others may not, simply because they've never seen it before.
Toyota is pleased to feature African-American icons expressing themselves in their own words. Toyota, let's go places.
Just one more step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations, because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Merrill. We have issues I-95 northbound between the Betsy Ross Bridge and Bridge Street. Big issues there. It's a tractor-trailer fire. We have closures and restrictions there. As a result, your delay begins back in the area of Allegheny Avenue. So, again, watch for crews and restrictions there northbound 95, directing you through that area. Southbound side, you're already heavy copping down through Bridge. Again, delays Betsy Ross down through Allegheny. Again, that's the Gaper delay with that northbound issue. Schuylkill Expressway, Vine Expressways, they are in pretty good shape. Boulevard Route 1 southbound a bit heavy 9th Street down through Fox through that construction. With Merrill Guided Investing, you have the option to work with an advisor at a low cost of minimum. Get started at merrilledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor. Member SIPC. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a word weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
Clouds are here. Snow is on the way. Snow develops after the morning commute and then changes over to rain early this afternoon in Philadelphia. A quick 1 to 2 inches is possible before the changeover. Then the rain ends just as we're entering the evening commute, a high of 40 this afternoon. Clouds to start with on Tuesday, a brief shower possible north and west. Then clouds break for some sunshine in the afternoon, a high of 45. And a nice sunny, mild day Wednesday, 33 the low, up to 55 Wednesday afternoon. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley with your most accurate forecast. Count on it.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Good morning and welcome back to the Power Hour with Dwayne Royster and Mark Kelly Tyler. Hey, WURD family. WURD Radio is a devoted team of hosts, producers, and staff doing everything we can to serve black people. As other media outlets grapple with trying to discover the needs of the black community, WURD puts those needs front and center as we fight for them every day, all day. As we enter the final week of Black History Month, we know that our work is a part of history, a history of black voices that refuse to be silent. We honor and call the names of those who've made black history. There's Mary McLeod Bethune, James Baldwin, Garrett Morgan, Elijah McCoy, Malcolm X, and the list goes on. But how are you making black history? This is one of the most challenging times in history, and we need you to stand with us. For $90 per year, $1.73 per week, or 24 cents per day, you can take action. Let us know that what we do matters to you. Sign up today at wordradio.com/join now and type in the name of a person in black history that you honor or the host that sent you and be heard. For more information, go to wordradio.com/join now. Again, wordradio.com/join now. Well, thank you all. And please sign up, become a part of the WURD family. Stay in touch and let folk know that you care about the black history that's being made here every day on WURD Radio.
Yeah, it looks like some of you all have found us over here on social. A lot of you actually, glad to see you all. Others who are coming in, Kateria, Lois, Bernita, Connie, glad to see you all have found your way over to our temporary hideout as Facebook is tripping. Yeah, you know, I want to talk about Herschel Walker, but I do have to just slide this story in real quick because you're not going to believe this when I tell you.
Probably not.
So there's a Columbia University, as in like the Ivy League, a professor. Talking about having balance in his life. He's a brother, too, about our age. 54, as a matter of fact, he and I are the same age. Married, father of 3. My man has written a book. Apparently this is part of his work there at Columbia. The book is called Drug Use for Grown-Ups. Chasing Liberty in the Land of Fear, the subtitle. And apparently he must have tenure because that's the only reason he would acknowledge this in a symposium, that he regularly does heroin. It's kind of, you know, he kind of does it like, uses it like alcohol, he says. Knock the edge off. Could you imagine going to talk to him about your grades? Hey, professor, so I want to talk to you about this paper. Doc, are you nodding again?
Everybody gets an A. You get an A, and you get it. Do you see the big A floating overhead? You get an A, and you get an A.
I'm sorry, Doc. Are you with me, Doc? Huh? You were kind of nodding there a minute. Did you get sleep last night?
Oh my goodness!
Can you believe that?
No, I can't. And I don't know if you heard the latest, but that Harvard University denied Dr. Cornel West tenure.
I heard that. I thought it was an old story because they did it before.
Yeah, that's why he left last time, but he did it. They did it. Oops, they did it again.
Oops. Oh yeah, Brittany.
I can't believe they did that.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. It's that's an interesting story. We should have some folk who really delve into tenure to come on and talk. I've heard a lot of different things about why that's happening to him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't dare want to speculate, but knowing some folk who are in the academy, I've heard. Let's just say a lot of folk are not surprised, but if it's associated with Cornell West, because everybody doesn't get tenure.
Right.
I mean, I've known some really good professors who had to leave Temple to get tenure elsewhere, to get put on a tenure track. It just kind of depends. But yeah, I've heard some people who are not surprised by that. And yeah, I don't know. One Mr. Barack Obama may have something to do with that.
Yeah, RG in Harlem just said that. It said Obama is their star graduate.
Oh, he did. I'm just saying that's Obama's school as well. And, Cornell has had a whole lot of hate for one Mr. Barry Obama. So it's not, you have never seen petty until you've seen academic politics. It is the most, it's one of the most vicious. It is worse than City Hall. Because they do it sitting next to you with a bran muffin. It's like, hey, how are you? Yeah, just cut your neck. Smile in your face with an Argyle sweater. And walked on down the hall with a goofy walk. And just as political as I want to be. It's brutal. I mean, really. But so, yeah, check it out. So Herschel Walker, man.
Oh, geez. Here we go.
So Herschel Walker's, so the House, is considering the resolution on that I think Sheila Jackson Lee presented, House Resolution 40. Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas brought this out. We want to study a commission to study reparation proposals. So of course, Republicans are going to bring their star witnesses to knock this down, and they bring Herschel Walker out. Herschel said, and I'm going to read to you what he said. We use, let me see, I need a good Herschel Walker accent. I can't think of it without it being overly offensive to a lot of people. So I'll just read it straight. We use black power to create white guilt, he argued. My approach is biblical. How can I ask my Heavenly Father to forgive me if I can't forgive my brother? America is the greatest country in the world. For me, a melting pot of a lot of great races, a lot of great minds that have come together with different ideas to make Americans the greatest country on earth. Yes, that's what he said. Americans, the greatest country on earth. Many have died trying to get into America. Yeah, Herschel, including the Middle Passage, but I guess you don't remember that part. I digress. Back to Herschel. No one is dying trying to get out. Reparations. Where does the money come from? Does it come from all the other races except the black taxpayers? Yeah. Who is black? What percentage of black must you be to receive reparations? How about this one, Herschel? Let's just use what the law said back then. One drop black blood, you considered a Negro, and you can't get in this school, you can't live in this neighborhood, you can't do that. Why don't we just use that historical stuff? Finally, he adds this. Reparations teach separation. Slavery ended over 130 years ago. Y'all, I added the y'all. How can a father ask his son to spend prison time for a crime he committed? I feel it continues to let us know we're still African American rather than just American. Reparation or atonement is outside the teaching of Jesus Christ. Amen.
So,
well, Megan's going crazy right now somewhere. I read all that for him, but go ahead, please.
So, I mean, we only got a couple minutes left, so I really can't go in a deep way. But
take us out with Herschel. Take us out. I'm done.
So, this is absolutely the epitome of ignorance, right? First of all, I mean, like you said earlier, he probably took a few too many hits while he was playing football, both with the USFL and then with the NFL, right? And I think that just because you have celebrity does not make you an expert to speak on certain subjects if you don't spend time studying the subjects before you speak on them. I don't know what Christianity that he studied or where. I know he's in Texas, and I know he's from Texas, and I think he's got that Texas big church thing working for him right now. He's probably going to one of those big white mega churches because he's a celebrity and celebrated there, and he's hearing all this stuff, and so he thinks this is the right way to go. I think he's absolutely wrong. Herschel Walker needs to go back into oblivion where he came from. He hasn't been relevant in years since he hasn't played any particular sport or done anything worthwhile. He did try to get into MMA, and if I remember correctly, he got his behind kicked. And he should just go back, sit on top of his millions, and stay out of the public eyesight because he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Okay, nothing. All right, I'm going to stop right there because I'm about to say some other stuff that really is not appropriate.
But
for,
Jesus,
oh, he goes to Joel Osteen's church. Oh, that even explains a whole lot more than this.
But
anyway,
Jesus don't want you to have reparations.
Lord have mercy. Jesus was reparations. I don't understand these people. We got to go. It's 6:55. We got to make room for our colleague and the Solomon Jones and Wake Up with Word show. Listen, thanks for checking us out here on the Power Hour today. Thank you, Kuwesa, for holding it down. Thank you, everybody that came on over to YouTube to check us out this morning. We really deeply appreciate you. Thank you, Dr. Tyler. Everybody that checked in, we appreciate you. Everybody listening out there on Word, on the air, on the app, on the various social media outlets. Listen, do us a favor. Go out. Change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.
Hey, R.I.P. Cody.